The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
Now listen to me, Caesar. There can be only one talking chimpanzee on Earth. The child of the two talking apes.
20 years back from the year, Senor Amanda, when the two talking apes arrived on Earth.
And we believe that the male and female talking apes have come to us out of the future.
A month before the talking apes arrived on Earth.
From now on, you have but one assignment: to find that talking ape.
He's a performing ape for my circus.
A talking ape?
That idiot!
This chimpanzee...
Get out of retraction immediately! Announce that the talking ape has been apprehended and put to death!
Hello to all you chimps, gorillas, orangutans, underdwellers, and even you damn dirty Mego Collectors. I am Richard Woloski, and I want to welcome you back to Talking Apes. This is your Planet of the Apes podcast, where we focus on the classic Apes era. We talk with actors, authors, and the fan community. Now, everyone, please say hello to my co-host, Kevin Toft. Hey, Kevin.
Oh, who are you? Why don't you dressed in that ridiculous costume? I'm Batman.
What?
This is not simian behavior.
Kevin.
Unhanded. What?
Kevin.
Oh.
I just introduced you. What are you doing?
Sorry. I was just reliving some moments with my Mego action figures, Batman and Dr. Zaius having a conversation.
Sounds like it was a pretty heated conversation.
Well, they had never seen humans in costumes. Talking was such heresy. Can you imagine dressing up like a bat? I couldn't
imagine what Dr. Zaius would say about that.
Yeah, there was definitely going to be a lot of Q&A there.
Yeah, I should have warned you that we're recording. But you know what? I understand. I've got my Mego figures right over here, and I am so excited about today because we're going to talk Mego.
Yeah, in just a bit, we'll be speaking with Paul, Dr. Mego Clarke, about Mego and his company, EMCE Toys.
Yeah, I am so looking forward to this. But first, let's talk a little bit about the big Mego announcement that came out on January 23rd. Mego will be releasing new Planet of the Apes figures.
Yes. In a Mego Ambassadors live stream, Marty Abrams from Mego announced in a pre-recorded message that Mego has signed a deal for Planet of the Apes license.
Hey guys, we spoke just about 1 week ago. We talked about kind of great year that we had in 2020. It is just the beginning. As you can see what's in front of me, we are introducing for the first time, literally in almost 45 years, the Planet of the Apes. We are really super excited about it. And as we say to all of you, let's go ape.
How exciting is that?
Now, the first two figures will be released in stores in the first quarter of 2021, which means they'll be coming out by April. And the Apes figures, they're going to be reissues of what we got in the 70s. So we'll get a chance to relive our childhood. Now, the license includes not only 8-inch Mego figures, but the 14-inch format as well. And Mego President Joel Rosenzweig, hope I'm pronouncing that right, he said that Mego plans to go deeper into character selection. You know what that means? Lots from Return to the Planet of the Apes.
It's wide open. They can dive into it all.
Maybe they can do some podcasting action figures from the Planet of the Apes fandom. I'm just saying. Right. I'm just saying. And unlike the previous attempt by Diamond Select Toys about a decade earlier, Mego has way more choices. Way more choices. Did you get any of those Diamond Select Planet of the Apes figures?
I did not. I don't know what I was waiting for. I guess this is what I was waiting for. I was unsure about those because I was like, I'd almost rather just have, find an actual original Mego than have, I guess it was the name Diamond Select. I think I like what they're doing now and coming back with EMCE, and it feels like a true Mego recreation rather than another company being involved. I don't know. Is that weird?
No, not at all. Not at all. But you know what? I have here, which I'm showing you on Zoom right now, Kevin.
Oh.
I had the opportunity to get this soldier ape from this collection, and it originally sold for $19.99 at Suncoast, but when Suncoast was going under, I got it for like $5.
Oh, well, see, you have to at that point. At that point, it's imperative you do it.
Yeah, I got this and Shazam.
Ooh.
Yeah, at $20, like, okay, that was at that time of my life, $20, I just couldn't swing, but $5, I did.
Yeah, done.
Yeah, and these new toys, these new Mego action figures that are coming out, they're going to be around the $20, $21, $22 price tag. What do you think about that?
That's very reasonable.
Yeah,
because if let's say you have $100, that means that you're okay with getting stuff with. You get to pick 5, man. I mean, just tax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I know I'm generalizing, but roughly,
yeah,
I mean, it's in the neighborhood. In my head, that's how I equate things out. I just go, "Ooh, I can get 5 of those if I don't mind the tax."
Yeah, yeah. And I've seen these Mego recreations from other companies that went for like $35 at some collector stores, and it's a little bit too much. But 20, 21, 22, that's a no-brainer.
Considering it's right in the pocket.
Considering what it costs for some of these licenses. And that's what really you're paying for, because they got to pay a big chunk for these licenses. And then you got to pay to have these toys designed and molded and the packaging and sent over to China. So these are really, really, really expensive to make. And I'm sure me buying this one at $5, they lost like $20 on that deal.
Who knows? Hey, I got a crazy question for you. I should have asked you this earlier. What is a not on the card, not in the box, Planet of the Apes Mego from the original series? What do they go for? Just loose? Because when you said 35, I'm thinking that probably sounds like what you could get for an out of the box used one, of an original one, which I think I'd rather have. If I was going to put $35 into something, I think I'd rather buy something that was the original Mego than a remake. If it's in that neighborhood.
Yeah. If it's loose, missing boots, missing gloves, missing a cape, maybe missing a hand, you could get it for $35. But I've seen these at conventions and collector stores, the original Mego figures going into the hundreds of dollars, but
that's
packaged
in box.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a horse of a different color.
Yeah, and there's been times when I've been tempted to get some more Apes figures, and even like the Batman and the Superman and the Aquaman, those figures that I grew up with, like, to get a little piece of my childhood back, but then I know that they're not my toys, so I was like, oh, then I can't really spend that much
Can't
on
justify
them.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the packaging is just gorgeous, and the figures are just so well made that, you know what? Maybe another time I could drop $200 on a Falcon action figure. You never know.
Well, this price point, like you mentioned, though, is really, I think they're going to do well with this, especially at cons.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Big time. Now, if Mego were to come to you and say, Kevin, we want your input. Give us 3 Planet of the Apes action figures, or should we just call them dolls? I've never seen these called action figures. They're always called dolls, but
I don't remember what I call them.
Okay, I'm just gonna going forward. I'm just gonna call them figures. So
dolls, figures. The figures is fine. They're not action. I guess they're action figures. When you say action figures, you think
of the Kenner, right?
These are figures.
Okay, let's say that Migo comes to you and say, Kevin, we need 3 picks of yours from Planet of the Apes, and 3, let's just say random picks. What figures do you want to be made?
The Planet of the Apes, it's actually kind of totaling for. First, obviously, is I like Virgil from Battlefront Planet of the Apes. For all the reasons that you and our audience probably can figure out. But then the other one I thought would be good as a set, which would be 3 of them, would be the lawgivers at the trial when they do the hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil with that table. That would be such a cool set on the shelf. Could you imagine? I'm like, oh, that would be $60, maybe. They probably sell that for like $80. I wouldn't even hesitate.
You know, I could almost see this being part of a big diorama. You get this set that includes those 3 lawgivers and the table in the courtroom. You can put in another piece that is the museum where Taylor's running around and he sees his friends. Maybe there's a part where it's the outside of the ape village and you can have a little recreation of Taylor being strung up again.
Nova in a cage. How about that?
Okay. All right. When you want to go there? Sure. Maybe you get the little Felixilla gorilla, not the Gary Newman gorilla, but the Felixilla baby gorilla who goes, look, it's a man. So you have like, you can create this big ape city. Oh, that would be awesome. But you know what?
That would be fun.
You know what? This got away from me. All right. So go ahead.
Okay. So on the superhero front, I was thinking Doctor Strange because we've seen all the other Marvel ones. I just think that's such a cool costume, and Mego's really great at getting costumes right. Obviously, we've seen that in several, especially the new reissue stuff that Mego's doing. They just nail it. So Doctor Strange would be great. Another one I felt would be also right down the center line for Mego would be the original Tron series, because they wear some cloth parts, and it just seems like it would be a no-brainer. And then can I do a couple more? Because
do you have honorable mentions?
Okay, Johnny Quest was one of my favorite shows. I think that was really, really well drawn, very strong poses, excellent character design. I think all the characters from that would be great. And then here's one, because I vaguely remember, I think I might have also had the Mego Spider-Man. I had Batman, Robin. Anyways, I think I remember having the Spider-Man, but I would love to see Miles Morales from Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. I think that would be such a cool character to do. And then last but not least, on the order of play sets, how fun would the Harlem Globetrotters be? Now I'm talking about the original ones, like when I grew up in the 70s, Curly, Goose, Meadowlark Lemon, all those guys, classic ones.
Maybe you can put that basketball court in the middle of the Ape City.
So you could have Harlem Globetrotters playing against the Planet of the Apes. That would be, actually, you can sell tickets to that today. That would be a show you could take on tour. That would be chock full of comedy.
Yeah. I don't think the game would go very far, because the first shot that Urko would miss, he'd take out his rifle and start firing into the crowd.
I think you'd just throw the basketball at people, and then you'd have orangutans arguing over the validity of the referee's calls, and you just have chimps in the middle trying to figure out how to play the game right and see if they can score on these guys. It'd just be this whole bureaucracy thing, because they had the 3 factions. You got the gorillas that want to fight, you got the chimps that are trying to do things right, and they're
looking at it scientifically.
Yeah,
so this is how apes and humans react to each other just during a game. Maybe we should be segregated. Not that that's ever a good thing, but you know what? If we're just going to get together and fight, maybe that's the best thing.
It would be very entertaining.
All right. So my picks when we're talking Planet of the Apes figures. Now, I know I keep harping on this, but I want an Urko with removable helmet.
That's solid. 100%.
right there. That should be enough. But
totally.
I also want a Cornelius from Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
So Caesar's boy.
Yep, something to give to Bobby Porter. It would make him very happy. Virgil, well, you took Virgil, so I'm going to go with a 3-pack. You had a 3-pack with the Lawgivers. I'm going to go with a 3-pack of Galen, Cornelius, and Caesar.
Absolutely.
If you're Lawgivers, you can pretty much get one Dr. Zaius and call it a 3-pack. So it's the same thing here. Fans would go nuts for it.
I haven't done a side-by-side, but I thought we discussed, or I heard somebody talking about the differences in the Galen costume versus the Cornelius costume.
His front bib looks to me more vinylish more glossy than the original costume, which was leather.
Got it.
Yeah, I could be wrong on the fabrics, but it was much glossier, and it just didn't look like that.
I'll look into it.
Didn't look
I gotta study that.
Didn't look like that really expensive leather. So that's your homework for next episode. All right, and then for the 3 randoms, I'm gonna go with the packs, the sets. And I know they don't have the license, but I want a Mala, Itchy, and Lumpy from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah, that would you wouldn't be able to keep those on the shelves.
No.
You wouldn't be able to keep them.
Yeah, exactly. Say what you will about the Holiday Special, people would snatch those up very quickly. I want a 4-pack of the monkeys. Now,
sure.
I know a few years ago, a company called Figures Toy Company made Mego-esque monkeys. They were good. The clothes didn't really fit that well. So I want Migo to have a take on this. And let's see, who else would I... You know what? I'm going to go with George Lucas.
Sure.
A George Lucas Migo action figure. It's right there. And once again, people would snatch that up.
Yep. And a signed George Lucas Migo would go for probably about what they ended up selling a Lucasfilm to Disney for. That'd be the get. Everybody would get the Lucas Migo, and they would try to get him to sign it, and that would be
have him in the red plaid shirt and the jeans and the sneakers, holding a Coke in one hand and a Hershey bar in the other hand. He's got the director's loop hanging around his neck. Wow.
Maybe a pull string where he says faster and more intense.
See, there you go, Kevin. You're thinking like a toy maker. And then for playsets, I want a Galaxy's Edge playset.
Okay, we'd have to then have Vi Marati then as a Migo.
There you have it. See, once again, you're thinking outside the box here. This playset would be about the size of the Ape City, but while we're going there, let's just do it. Then they need to make a Millennium Falcon, the size where the Mego figures could fit in there. It'd be the size of a Subaru, but let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm just trying to picture what that would be. I don't do math very well, but I don't think I could. I'm looking around me. I don't know where the hell I would put that.
Clear out your couch.
Just the cockpit. Maybe just the cockpit where you can place them, just the case. That would be a cool thing to display them in. You know what?
They could even make it like they made the Millennium Falcon for Star Wars, where they just made half a ship and then they painted the other half of the ship. So they can do something to that effect there. There you go.
Indeed.
Okay.
This is all good stuff.
Now we're getting somewhere. Also for another playset, I want the plaza from Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. And you can recreate that iconic scene with Caesar and heading up the revolt. So once again, if they came to us and said, "Okay, guys, we want your input," that's what we would say. All right, now you know what? Let's go over the Wave 12 that was announced, and these are the 8-inch figures that are coming up in April. And Kevin, as we just heard from our discussion with Paul Clarke, this is only a partial list because there's another ape figure coming out in this wave. A figure that was supposed to be coming out in the second quarter is coming out in the first quarter. But you have to hear our discussion to hear who that is. And at this point, I'm sure many of you have already guessed. So this is the list that was initially released. And tell me, Kevin, which ones you are excited about. All right. They have got a 8-inch Migo coming out of Avatar: The Last Airbender. They have a DC Comics Riddler. I love the Riddler. They have a Stan Lee Web Hands edition. See, if they can do Stan Lee, they can do George Lucas.
See, yeah, you're onto something, I think. There might be a whole series of those icons, the Gollum icons.
Yeah. DC Comic The Flash. Oh, I've always wanted a Flash figure. DC Comics The Green Lantern. Always wanted a Green Lantern as well. The Flocked Fly. I'm not really sure what that is. But it's like the Fly from the 1950s. Help me!
That one. Yeah.
Okay, so what other figures here do you see on the list that are exciting you?
There's Universal's Wolfman, Son of Frankenstein, Dr. Zaius, the Rocketeer. Boy, I got to tell you, big Rocketeer guy here. Big time. Young Frankenstein Igor. See, I got that right the first time. Star Trek, the Salt Vampire. That's a kind of a creepy one.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have a 2-pack with the Pepper Vampire. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry.
Shame on you.
I know. You know what? I'll cut that out.
And this is interesting. Star Trek, Dr. McCoy and Scotty.
You're not excited about those?
Well, I don't know. I have a different pairing in my head. I don't know. It's like Kirk had a kind of a special relationship with McCoy, and he had a special one with Spock. I almost think it would be funny to put Spock and McCoy in the same, because they're almost adversaries. There's a little, to me, that's funny. I don't know. I might be overthinking this, but I just remember on the show, they're always at, well, you green-blooded Vulcan, and he's always making fun of him for being human. I don't know. It just seems to me to be a highly logical pair. But hey, I'll take it, man, because it's TOS. I'm down. I mean, I'm just putting a little different spin on it, but it's all probably a business decision, and I'm overthinking it. I'm overthinking it.
This is just a wave. It's not the wave of the year. So this is just one of many waves coming out. So you never know what's coming up in the next wave of 2021. That would be wave 13.
There's some good stuff there, man. I gotta say. I also, that Last Airbender. Yeah. I really liked that show. And gosh, just take a minute to say, I got sucked into that because my son was watching it, and I'm like, oh, why do I care about these characters? Why am I enjoying this so much? Got all the way through that series and went, wow, that was amazing. And then watching Mandalorian and the behind the scenes, and Dave Filoni talks about how he got his job. He was poached out of Last Airbender. And I'm like, oh, of course. It all comes around, doesn't it? There, you got the Last Airbender. It's tied to Filoni, tied to Star Wars. Holy cow, look at all that.
There you go.
Cyclical, circular stuff going on.
Now, when the news broke about the ape figures coming out, of course, every fan got on social media and said, I want this figure, I want that figure, I want this figure. But there's a website called 13thdimension.com. They published a really fun article of the 13 figures they would like to see. So let's go over this list, because they got some really good ideas. Coming in at number 13, they say Business Suit Cornelius Terry Cloth Variant.
Oh,
this is from Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
We're stretching there. I kind of want to see the Terry Cloth variant if I had to choose between the two.
Mm-hmm.
They also have, at number 12, Red Jumpsuit Gorilla from Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Oh, you could get 100 of those and recreate the scene I was just talking about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, these are really, even at 12 and 13, these are really good, still good choices, because they're from very iconic moments in iconic movies.
And they also say Green Jumpsuit Caesar from Conquest.
Sure.
You know what? I'm seeing this Conquest of the Planet of the Apes diorama forming in my head. I'm going to have to get rid of a dining room table to make this work, but I'll do it. I'll do that.
Fair enough.
Number 10, Mendez from Beneath the Planet of the Apes. All right, I got a mutant in there. At number 9, they have the Fat Man mutant from Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Sure.
Okay. 8 and 7, they have Landon and Dodge. Maybe a 2-pack from Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, just get it done at once. Get it all done.
Yeah. And from Beneath the Planet of the Apes, they say Brent. That's number 6.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can see that. At number 5, it's the Fabulous Outfit Zero from Escape from the Planet of the Apes. That's that very 70s polyester suit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I noticed they don't have on this list the Bubble Bath Zero. But, there's always another wave.
Oh, well, yeah.
All right. At number 4, Nova from Beneath and the original Planet of the Apes.
Sure.
You gotta have Nova in there somewhere. Number 3, Ursus from Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Number 2, Astronaut Taylor from Planet of the Apes. And number 1, Taylor and his loincloth from Planet of the Apes and Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Sure.
Now, do you know who was missing from this list? And even from our lists?
You got me.
Aldo.
Oh, right.
There's no love here for Aldo, so maybe I'll add him to my list. Even though you can pretty much say Ursus or Urko and take off his helmet.
Wait, and Aldo, and you just made me think something when you said that, because I started scanning the cast of the original, and I went, and I'm kicking myself because I can't think of his name, is the nephew at the end where Taylor tells him to let the flags of discontent. But what was the nephew that was supposed to be keeping lookout when they were inside the cave?
Lucius.
Lucius, yeah. Lucius would be a great one.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I'm going to put him on my list, okay?
Okay, I'd buy a Lucius.
If they say that, okay, Rich, instead of 3 choices, you now have 6 choices. So, Lucius.
I think so. It's only fair, yeah.
Yeah, and Julius, the prison guard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And you know what? Then we're gonna appeal to the females as well. So let's put Lisa in there. Caesar's wife.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Another voice of reason.
Lisa Zera 2-pack.
Ladies of the Apes, or something like the series, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Been more.
Yeah. Right. Now I'm all excited about this. So you know what? Let's now roll into our discussion with Paul, Dr. Mego Clarke of EMCE Toys.
Migo presents the Planet of the Apes action figures. Oh, I wonder where I am. Got to get to a high point to survey the situation. Capture him. Oh no, I'm trapped by the apes. What kind of place is this where apes are the ruling class? What strange planet can I be on? Oh no. It's the Planet of the Apes fortress. Break out the weapons. Send the gorillas out. Planet of the Apes fortress with sun reflector. I smell an astronaut. Set the trap. I must plan an escape. He'll never escape. Planet of the Apes forbidden zone trap. Figures sold separately. It's the Planet of the Apes action catapult with Urko and Ursus. Can they destroy the astronaut Verdun? There he is. Capture him. Another Planet of the Apes adventure. Planet of the Apes catapult and wagon. Figures and horse sold separately. By Migo. By Migo. All Planet of the Apes action figures sold separately. By Migo.
Planet of the Apes is just as synonymous with great classic films as it is with the Mego line of figures and playsets, and who among us didn't spend their childhood creating and recreating scenes with the ape action figures, and maybe they would be joined by the world's mightiest superheroes?
Well, we are excited to have on the show Paul, Dr. Mego Clarke of EMCE Toys.
Hello,
Hey,
Paul.
How you doing?
We are doing well and very, very eager to talk Mego. Very eager to jump back into our childhoods.
Okay.
I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Yes.
You know, let's talk about your name first. Your name, Dr. Mego. Was that because you made replacement parts for the Mego toys?
Yes. I found out in 1987, when I found the Mego Museum, that I wasn't the only grown man that wanted those toys back. And in talking to these guys through the early CompuServe mailing list, we found out that everybody was missing replacement parts. So I figured out how to make capes and boots and gloves. I set up a website called drmego.com. I fix them. I fix Mego, so I'm Dr. Mego. No medical degree implied.
I wasn't going to ask you for any kind of authenticity. What year was this?
1987.
Oh, wow.
No, 1997. Sorry. The internet wasn't around in 1987.
Yeah, I was going to say, wow, you're really ahead of your time.
I actually worked for at a .com, and around 2003, and I said to somebody, well, I graduated college in 1986. And he said, you mean 1996? I went, yes I did. And I dropped 10 years right there.
It's a time machine.
We're all eager to go back to the 80s. Now, when you made these replacement parts, did you mold the existing Mego toys? Did you have to resculpt them?
It took me about 2 years to find a silicone rubber that would not have shrinkage, would capture all the detail, and not be toxic. So I could do it in my garage. So, and I found a urethane resin that would accept color, also not shrink, also not be toxic. And so it's a lot of trial and error, but I was able to start making Thor hammers and Captain America shields and Batman belts. And I still am doing that 22 years later in my, it's still in my garage.
You got a crash course in chemistry then.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you, I was a history major. So don't think I'm any scientist.
We are now.
Well, now I'm Migo.
Yeah.
So did this business take off for you? Did people like, oh my goodness, I've been missing a Galen arm for years?
It never takes off. It's simply, there are a couple thousand guys out there that collect Migos. I've been very lucky. It's been a regular flow of orders, but never so many where I could start, move up to a bigger operation.
Right.
It's a mail order business. It's all internet. If I was smart, I would have set up Amazon back then. If only I thought to open a bookstore like Jeff Bezos.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Really?
But instead, Mego replacement parts. I had hoped that one day, Mego's production was like 500,000 pieces a year of each character. So Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Captain America, 500,000 was the production run each year. 10 years, you have 5 million figures out there. If only 10% survived, you're still talking 500,000.
Wow.
But many of them are never opened. Many of them are complete. Now we're looking at, if you find an incomplete Mego, you're thrilled. So I find that over the past 20 years, it's been a nice, steady business, but it's still something I can do nights and weekends out of my garage.
Right. Now, tell us about your career in the toy industry. After you started making all these Mego replacement parts, then you were starting to work for Mattel and with Diamond Select?
Mm-hmm. Okay. In 2001, I took the plunge and tooled the Mego body in China.
Oh.
I sent the factory a Mego body and said, make these. Exactly the size, exactly this. What I got back was different materials because they didn't use the same type of plastic Mego used. But basically, it was perfectly, a point for point same. I started selling those on Dr. Mego, and then a friend of mine who had worked in Star Trek licensing, Joseph, had come back from LA, and he said to me, "Why aren't you making Star Trek? You have the bodies, you have the parts, you have everything. Why don't you just get a license?" And I said, "I have no idea who to talk to." So, since he was in Star Trek licensing, he went, got introduction to the people who were doing it, and they said, Diamond Select has the license. You have to go talk to them. It's in their license. If they want to do it, then we have no problem. But it's their decision. So we met with Chuck DeSera of Diamond Select Toys, and he said, "Yeah, I think it's cool. I remember Mego. It's great." So we created EMCE Toys, which looks like the old Mego logo, and it's pronounced MC, like Mego Corporation.
Right.
We could not call ourselves Mego because Marty Abrams owns that. We went to Marty and said, "We want to bring back Mego." And he said, "Yeah, well, that's great, but I don't want to go backwards. So you guys can use my picture on the back. You can, come talk to me, but I'm not doing it now." So with his blessing and with his picture on the back of every figure, we worked with Diamond Select to do 2 years of Star Trek, 3 years actually, 3 years of Star Trek, Planet of the Apes. Diamond got the license for Planet of the Apes just for us to do Migos. Unfortunately, Diamond, the first thing we were going to do was Cornelius and General Ursus, and submitted that to Fox, and they said, "Oh, no. General Ursus is beneath Planet of the Apes. You only have Planet of the Apes." And Chuck was like, "What are you talking about? The 5 movies and the TV show. That's the license." And they said, No. You have Planet of the Apes, 1968. Just the first movie. And Chuck was like, that's not, paid you guys a fair advance. That's just not going to fly. He goes, "So we're just going to do the 4 Apes and work out." And my heart broke. I was thrilled to be doing Apes, but we couldn't expand to tail. We couldn't. And I said, "How about tailing? How about, there's more characters we can do." And he said, "No."
The question is, why didn't they want to go beyond that first film?
I don't
That
know.
doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. He just felt like whoever it was a fox was just being, less than sincere. And so we put out the 4 apes, and it was done. And it was 2008, and the recession hit, and we, retailer demand wasn't great, and they said, well, that's it. Then Chuck says, oh, by the way, I got Universal Monsters. You guys are going to make, we'll just start small. We'll just do like 2 monsters a year, right around Halloween. But I want you guys to make Wolfman and Frankenstein, what Mego never did. They made the Mego monsters were off license.
Right.
They did their own versions of Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman,
Right.
and Mummy.
Which I loved. I loved those toys.
And they're awesome. This was a chance we could actually do the license. But, so they said, but you can't do Carlo Frankenstein. You have to be Glenn Strange.
Do the Robert De Niro Frankenstein. That'll sell huge.
Oh, man.
It's like, yes, we have Cheney, but no, we don't have Carlo. And then when we got to the Mummy, we said, all right, so you're in Karis, not Imhotep. And they said, no, we have Carlos likeness. Well, why didn't you tell us that? Why couldn't I do a Carlo Frankenstein?
Oh, my.
By the way, at the same time we were doing the Universal Monsters, we were also doing a 3rd year of Trek, and we were working with Mattel to do DC superheroes. So I'm in hog heaven.
Wow. Quit your day job.
Excuse me, let me go from working on Frankenstein to working on Superman. Oh, and I'll get to the Soul Vampire in a minute.
All right. So at this point, Diamond Select and Mattel has the license. So at what point does Marty Abrams say, wait a minute, Mego is missing a huge piece of the pie here?
2010, we were at, he got us Mattel. Marty went to his friends at Mattel and said, hey, you should work with my guys. And the people at Mattel said, sure. And I got a phone call. Hi, I'm Jim Murphy from Mattel. We're going to be working with you on World's Greatest Superheroes.
All right.
And that's just that call that, you dream of. And I thought, okay, reality. He's going to pick my brain. He's going to pick our brains and then dump us to the curb, Mattel will take it over. Then we prototyped. Let's see, we did 6, 12. We did about 24 different figures, and we did the prototyping, we did the sculpting, the sewing, and it went off to Mattel's factory. The only thing we had no input into was the body that they used and the packaging. They said, we're Mattel, we know how to do it.
They used a different body? They didn't use what you recommended?
They did. They actually used the variation of the big Jim body. It was ball and socket up top, but then had rubber bands between the legs.
Oh, no. Those degrade.
And I just was like, what were you thinking?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Within a couple of years, those elastics, those rubber bands just snap.
I just got the feeling between that and the packaging looked all off register and bad colors and distressed. And I said, somebody here doesn't like this. Somebody in production, somebody in design is just trying to, because Migo always used sharp colors, bright graphics. It jumped out at you.
Yeah. Oh, as a kid, that's what pulled me in. All those bright, vibrant colors, those Crayola colors.
Yep. That was Migo. And I just felt like, but anyhow, we got to make DC superheroes for a couple of years.
Did you have a say in what characters were going to be produced?
Yeah. Actually, we did get, we got to work with DC directly, and we would go in and sit and have geek sessions about, well, look, I want to do Superman, Lex Luthor, I want to do Green Lantern and Sinestro, I want to do Batman, Two-Face, not Joker. We should do another though. Two-Face looks better. We got to, my friend Joe and I were talking to the guys at DC who are very into it. It was a great geek session.
Wow.
That the people at DC were very cool. We had a guy at Mattel we dealt with who was really great. We did our best. We had worked out the kinks, and then the Green Lantern movie just flopped. They had us do 4 exclusive Green Lanterns, and they put them up on Matty Collector, and they didn't sell. And the guy who friend of Marty's who brought us in went to go to another job, and so this became an orphan project. You know, the next guy that came in said, I don't want to make Migos. We should be doing He-Man.
That's
Oh, no.
And you know how that turned out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And when you were thinking about these figures to be produced, did you want to revisit your childhood and make figures that were already done that you really liked? Or were you thinking, I want to make figures that they didn't make when I was a kid?
Both. Why not both? You want to do reproductions of the Andorian, the Romulan, you know, I wanted to do Taylor, all the stuff that didn't get done, you know, and all the stuff that was hard to find or was all beat up now. You know, when you have the chance, you want, like Apes, the first two I wanted to do was Cornelius and General Ursus in the movie uniform. All right. So right off the bat, telling them you're going to do old and new. With Star Trek, I wanted to do Kirk and screen accurate Gorn. And they said, no, do Kirk and the Klingon first. I'm like, okay, it's not my money. It's not my license. You know, if that's what the people who are putting up the money say, that's what you do.
Yeah. Speaking of your childhood, what were your favorite Mego toys growing up?
1972. I go into a local 5 and 10 in Mineola, New York with my mom.
We had 5 and 10s out here. I remember going in with my mom, same experience.
Yeah, it was called Big D. Big discount. So mom would go in to get, you know, some bread or, you know, mothballs or something. Place always smelled of mothballs. And there on the shelf, my brother and I were watching Batman every day on Channel 11 in New York, and we were loving it. Like, you know, and there on the shelf was Migo, Batman and Robin, with removable mask. And I was like, well, this is awesome. They made a kid-sized Batman. And Superman was there too.
Oh, yes.
And I sat there looking back and forth. So Superman, I get Superman and Batman, Superman and Batman. Superman. My brother was like, well, I'm going to get Robin. Because I was always Batman, he was always Robin. So, okay, I better get Batman. So, but I came home that night, I stared at that window box, looking at the gallery pictures, and, you know, collect them all. And I was like, I got to get Superman. And that creates a collector.
Yeah.
Next week, my mom got me Superman, you know, and I just played him to death. You know, my brother played with him for a bit, didn't really get it, moved on. I was more of a comic book fan. To me, being able to read a comic and then take my Mego Superman and fly him around the room was the greatest thing in the world.
I had almost identical experience. Out here, it was TG&Y, 5 and dime. And yes, and that was the first one I got was my Batman and Robin. Because for me at the time, what was going on was the Batman TV show, right? So
absolutely in syndication.
Right, in syndication. So that I could see that. Yes, Superman was there, and yes, I did love Superman. But if you're getting to watch Batman every day, and then here's the toy, to me, it was just connecting the circuit. Done. Boom.
Yeah, we had Woolworths. You walk in and it smells like a 50-year-old bleach and, like you said, mothballs. But I loved it because when you smelled that smell, you knew that you were going to get a Mego. And one of my very first Migos was the Batman with removable helmet.
That's right.
Removable mask.
Absolutely. Is that the original or one of mine?
No, this is one of the original that I'm holding in my hand right now that I'm showing you on Zoom.
Okay. All right. Well, be careful.
Yeah. Oh, I cherish this. I don't know where the rest of the figure is, but I do have the removable mask.
So, Paul, can you do a replacement part for that mask? The entire character that fits in it?
I do. I have them made in China. That's why I literally said, is that one of mine? Because I actually made those in blue, black, and red. I can make the whole thing. That was part of the problem. Before we got involved with Diamond Fleck, I got a nasty letter from DC and Marvel's lawyers that said, by the way, we noticed your website is selling figures. I actually got to the point where I was like, well, why not just make Batman and reproduce the box and sell the whole thing? And they went, whoa, what are you doing? You don't have a license. Cut it out. Stop. Don't do it again and burn and destroy everything you have.
Oh my gosh.
Which made me reach out to my friend Joe and say, do you know anybody in the license? You know, a copyright lawyer? Do you know anything about licensing? And he was like, oh, please, we got to get you out of the bootleg world and into the light of day of licensed properties.
Oh, there you go. So your accumulated knowledge over through this entire process has really made you ideal partner person, key person to bring into if you're running any sort of an operation that's doing anything along the lines of Migo, they need you.
Well,
as far as I'm concerned, everything I'm hearing, everything I'm seeing, you're key to this, because your accumulated knowledge isn't going to beat all the slipshot experience of a Mattel going, oh, we know how to do figures that you don't tell us. No, it's like when they rebooted Star Wars and they, like ILM's going, God, we got to make droids again. Oh, how did we do that? And they went to the R2 Builders Club to get help getting the droids back up faster. And when they need stormtroopers, they go to the 500 first because they're up to date. It's cumulative knowledge that gets you to the point you want to get to faster. If you, instead of having to go back and learn all that, if you can go to a group or person that has accumulated.
That's how Marty felt.
Yeah. And companies are starting to do this now. A friend of mine, James Burns, was contracted by Mattel because they wanted to do a whole Phantom Menace 20th anniversary line. But hey, we need someone who's in the know, someone who knows collectibles, someone who knows the movies. We can't just say, let's put out another Darth Maul.
Right. But there's a trick. It's one thing to say, okay, for those guys, yes, they know their characters. I also had done manufacturing. I knew where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
I have sculptors. I have people that can sculpt in this size. I have people who can sew in this size. I've done it. I can cast parts. I can do other things. Yes, I'm the house nerd that knows the characters, but at the same time, I've also dealt with factories.
And fans know this. Fans know when things are being produced that are being produced by the fans.
Right. Now, the trick is also, one of the problems you have is, it's also the reality of production. I may want to make sure this thing is absolutely perfect, but the reality is it's got shipped.
Right.
Too many people out there have tried to do things and sacrificed getting it out on time for it's got to be right. And it's a great goal, but at the end of the day, you are selling product. You are moving, product out the door. You can fix it later. If there's a problem, you can deal with it on the next one. But if you don't get out the door, you're not retailers are going to cancel the order, and you've gone nowhere. The factory is going to charge you for making those. So it's that double-edged sword that you have to, and factories know how it works. And the guys at DC told me when we were doing the Mattel figures, we never see samples till it's on the order. They always do that. Because they know we're going to complain about mistakes, and they want it to be that they don't have to.
They just want to ship it and cross your fingers. And
because it's a business, and that's the demarcation line. Is you have to understand this is about a business, not what I want this to be perfect.
You make compromises.
Yeah, you do. And if it's popular, you fix it on the next one. In the business, it's called a running change. The problem is that, as I said to Marty, we're not selling to 7-year-olds. We're selling to 40-year-old men. Right.
So it's got to be right.
That are much more critical and much more, into detail. It's the difference, but when you're talking about a $15 retail figure, it's not a Hot Toys $200 figure.
Right.
So, you just don't have the ability. It has to come in, just like it has to ship on time, it has to come in at a certain cost.
Yep.
And if I got to sacrifice detail, that's the reality. That's where it's a grown-up job, not, fanboy heaven. It breaks your heart a little.
All right, gotcha. Speaking of fanboy heaven, the Apes community went ballistic recently when they heard the news that Mego was going to release some new Planet of the Apes figures. So what do you know about this? What can you tell us?
Well, I know everything about it, but I can only tell you a few things. The first two is Dr. Zaius and Cornelius.
right.
Okay. The contract got signed with Fox very recently. We want to get product out there as soon as possible. Chinese New Year is, at the end of January, every factory shuts down, and there's 3-6 weeks lost to Chinese New Year.
Yep.
So the first thing to do, get them things are already done. Take Dr. Zaius and Cornelius, and they're very well known and very popular. Get them right over to the factory. They can redo it. We made a slight change and gave Cornelius and Zaius, the bodies are colored like the fur, not like the face. Okay? So it also sets it apart.
Right.
The packaging is better. The packaging is cooler. It's the Statue of Liberty, like it should be, not just the ape heads, on a color background. But the idea is, so anytime you see one of these, you'll notice, oh wait, this is the new Migo version. Because another thing I worry about is if it's too perfect a reproduction, somebody will try to pass it off as original.
Happens all the time.
And I worry about the secondary market too. Well, with Star Trek, we really tried to do as close to perfect as possible. It just, until you turn the back over. But, I know eBay, the way people put things out there, they'll show the front and be like, vintage.
Yeah. Wait a minute, it's got a 2020 copyright date on the leg.
That's the point. That's the truth.
Did they think about maybe reproducing the packaging so it looked like the 1974
No, because
packaging?
Fox, we did that with Diamond. We really did reproduce it. And Fox, now Disney, was kind of like, we don't have that. We want you to work from our style. So I found an image in their style guide that looks good, that would serve, and we're showing them other packaging ideas for the future.
I love the packaging, and I kind of wish they would go back to the original because that's what's nostalgic to me.
But it's nostalgic more than that was really great art. I mean, I love Migo, but the Apes packaging was kind of pedestrian.
Yeah, I like what you're describing. No, as I'm thinking about, because I'm going to buy these, and I'm thinking about how I'm going to display them, and the packaging you described, I'm thinking to myself, nope, that's going to be perfect.
The packaging actually is from a DVD cover that had the Statue of Liberty and Cornelius' giant head next to it.
Yeah.
Now, Cornelius' head is obscured by the card itself and the blister. So you have the Statue of Liberty, which is the iconic
That's going to work.
point of Planet of the Apes. So I think it looks really good.
How much research went into that? Because I just put out the Mego art from the 1970s on our Talking Apes Facebook group, and I said to everyone, what do you think when you see this artwork? And everyone went ballistic. Oh, it reminds me of my childhood. I love these toys and the memories that came back. So was there a question of maybe we should go back to what the fans want to see to go back to their childhood? Because that we grew up on that. We don't care. It's pedestrian. It just speaks to us.
No, it really has. You have to listen for the licensor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can ask if you can do something, but at the end of the day,
it's their money.
They're the property owners, and you are just a day laborer on their estate.
Yeah.
So,
believe me, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you say that Zaius is coming out now in April, and when's Cornelius coming out? The second quarter of the year?
Same time. Nope. They were done together. One's going to be at Target, and one is going to be at other.
Oh.
And I don't remember the details, so I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right.
Now, I saw a list of the Wave 12 figures. I didn't see Cornelius in there.
Well, it was updated because when the Wave 12 list went out, we did not have permission from Fox to say anything.
So this is an update we're getting.
Well, yeah, actually, quite frankly, we still don't have a press release approved by Fox, but we've announced it on, Migo and let the internet just catch it.
Right.
Oh, wow. This is breaking.
Guerrilla marketing. To Fox, Fox Disney, they think press release. Press release is official.
Right.
And so we're, I don't know if they've approved it, but in the meantime, we said, well, can we talk about it on our Facebook Live? And they should charge you. Well, these days, that's how you get the news out.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, the press release only goes out to so many different people.
That's right. Instagram will be your press release.
Your dedicated fans are going to the Mego sites.
That's right.
Are you then yourself working with Disney on all of this?
I'm not really involved with discussions. We're dealing with quite a few Fox properties, like Young Frankenstein.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Igor is coming too, with a movable hump.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
We did it. It took a Joe Namath football and made a little rectangle of cloth in the back, in the pouch, inside the tunic, so you could push the football back and forth. So you can decide which side the hump is on and which day.
I love that so much.
Are you serious about that?
Yes, I'm very serious. Yes.
It's one of the funny parts in the movie.
Oh, there's a fun deep cut.
Hey, I know the audience. The audience wants that.
Yes, I do.
Exactly. Yes. Once again, the fans know better.
You know the movie. You know the gag. That's right. The fans know better. Mm-hmm. When I looked at sideshows, very expensive 12-inch Young Frankenstein Igor. Doesn't even look like Marty Feldman. Yet we were told, we have Marty Feldman's rights. And so we got a bug-eyed Marty Feldman sculpt.
Well, you got to have the bug eyes or it's just not Marty Feldman.
With hair. And then the hood is removable.
Oh, man, that sounds like it's going to be awesome.
It's actually a really cool executioner's outfit.
Disney is very much about merchandising. So are they excited about reinvigorating Planet of the Apes?
Who knows? It's like Olympus. You offer up to the gods and you hope somebody notices.
Right.
Let's say if they are, it's above my head. So all I can do is I'm excited about it. I care.
Is the hope to get a full Apes line, like go for it all? Is that the goal? Hope
Migo's got the rights to do the films and the TV show, correct?
Listen, we want to go long and deep in Apes. I sent in a list of long list by movie of what characters we definitely want. Trust me, I've got all the movies on Blu-ray and DVD and the TV show, and I am well versed in Apes. So I can't promise.
And they returned the Planet of the Apes animated series. Can we get some figures looking like those designs? Because you got a captive audience right here.
Wasn't that the bad color scheme?
Yeah, Urko was made from the animated show.
I don't know if that's in there, but if it is, we'll mind. You're dealing with landscape now of action figures where one variant, a particular variant from the video game gets its own figure. With NECA did a Freddy Krueger, I think, Jason, I don't know what, but from one video game.
Right.
Yeah.
If the fans support it, we'll keep making it. Okay. My biggest fear with Apes is I know it's hugely popular, but is there enough guys out there? Okay. Planet of the Apes was one of the first lines that Migo did in 1974 that really put it on the map. Millions were sold. Every kid. Planet of the Apes licensing was Planet of the Apes Mego. Was why George Lucas made sure to retain the merchandising rights for Star Wars.
Oh, yes.
Because he saw kids playing with action figures from a movie and said, note to self, keep the rights.
And that was one of the greatest moves in Hollywood merchandising history. And not the first time Planet of the Apes has paved the way for Star Wars. Now, was there any kind of market research to see what Apes figures the fans wanted?
Well, I've been on a lot of ape groups for a long time.
Aha.
I am always out there talking to fans because I'm one of them, and I know what but the reality is, while every ape fan really loves the Marvel comics that we've done in black and white and color, we may not be able to do anything that they did originally for that without having to license with Marvel. It's a gray area. There's some things that think of like Micronauts. Migo owns Micronauts, now Hasbro owns it. But at the same time, Marvel did comic series in Micronauts for at least 3 years and created other characters like Bug that had not been in the toys. What was it? Articus Rand was also the character. The main character of Micronauts in the comic was not really a figure. He was time traveling. So there's a gray area between who owns what.
I had a lot of Micronauts too.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Oh, me too. Loved them. The owner of Mr. Big Toyland in Waltham, Massachusetts, convinced me that they were Star Wars figures and fooled me into buying them. It's like, oh.
You were kidding me.
He goes, yeah, kid, go home. Yeah, play with these. And this Darth Vader.
And my mother just thought, this guy knows what he's talking about. But,
that's right.
That guy owes me a lot of money. Are there any plans for play sets coming out? Maybe there's like an Aldo and Cornelius and the tree from Battle?
Of course, there's always, trust me. But play sets have changed. We don't need a carrying case to take grandmas anymore.
Oh, I love those 3-sided classic Mego play sets that folded out.
Mm-hmm.
3-panel stage is a standard of the theater.
Right.
Of the TV production. So, it's the trick is just to try to find a way to do it so that you're not shipping a lot of air.
Right.
Because that makes it too expensive and too costly. It may work better as like an assembly kind of thing.
Yeah, my buddy had a Star Trek one like that. It was the fold up case and it had a transporter in there.
Right. That was the Enterprise. Mego sold 350,000, and it was the perfect carrying. It was the carrying case that you take to grandma's, and it was the transporter, and it was the bridge. It was perfect. But today, Diamond actually made those again, and they had to retail for $50, and they said it was one per case, so the shipping was murdered.
Oh yeah.
But it did a lot. I mean, they did them, but it wasn't the best way.
And what is Mego doing to update these play sets?
We're actually displaying this stuff on shelving, and I think a more modular system would work better. Either stackable or background, less of the plastic, coated plastic fold up with a snap, and more of a modular thing that we could do. You could either go like the Wayne Foundation, where 4 levels high, or one level that works on a book page.
Well, that sounds awesome and really fun.
Right.
And I can see something like that selling well to collectors who want to display their collectibles in a diorama setting. So now, why do you think fans are so excited about collecting Mego?
Well, Mego is a direct connection to when you were a kid. I always say that every Mego is a little time machine. You pick it up, you start moving it, and for a brief second, you have traveled back in time. You are 7 again. You are playing with it, you're throwing Cap Shield across the room, you're flying Superman, and there's just that moment where the whole world drops away and you are a kid again. Planet of the Apes was so important to so many kids' childhood that Cornelius is just a face that you recognize from your childhood. And every time you see it, it just gets right back to you. Yeah, see? Even with a busted leg, but you know that face. That figure is so comforting. There's a whole aspect to collecting that people haven't really touched on.
Right.
I'm a doctor. So 20 years I have been talking to people about why they collect. And like we all played with toys as kids. Why does only a fraction collect them again? And it's usually tied to some psychological trauma. You didn't end the relationship. Your mom threw them out. They were given away. Your little brother destroyed them. You sold them at a garage sale. You went off to college, came back, and they were gone. You didn't end the relationship. My brother played with Migos. He just got bored with them one day and walked away. He got into records, collecting albums. I never lost that. When I entered the 7th grade, my mother said, for God's sake, stop playing with dolls.
They're not dolls!
Just go meet a girl. Well, we didn't even have that terminology back then. No, Mother, it's an action figure. No, they were my men. It's Paul's man.
My man! Oh my goodness! Oh my! Yeah. You're from the East Coast. Only people on the East Coast say these are my men. Oh my god!
Very, you definitely got the idea that you should not be doing it. Okay, so September of 1976, I entering the 7th grade, and my mother says, "You have to get rid of them. You're too old to be playing with those. Okay, I'm worried about you." So I had to give them away to my friend's little brother. All right. I didn't want to end the relationship. I had to. I said, no problem. I'll be over at Tom's house all the time. I'll still be able to spend time. I got there I went a week later. I said, hey, where are those Migos that I gave your brother? And my friend Tom said, oh, he destroyed those. He destroyed every toy. They're all gone. And seriously, I looked around the house and there was nothing. And I was like, that creates a trauma. That creates a need to get it back. So when my 18th birthday, my girlfriend gives me Superman, Spider-Man, and Captain America Migos from Toys R Us for my 18th birthday. And I look at her I was like, you got me Migos. She goes, well, I know you like superheroes. I go, no, you got me Migos. I'm back. I'm 18. My mother can't tell me why. And I married that girl.
Wow, so much of this is recalling this trauma that is coming back, because I had to sell a big case of my Migos to pay rent one month.
See? It's a psychological element to these.
It all makes sense.
Yes. You've had a breakthrough today. And that's why I'm Dr. Migo.
Wow, the circle is now complete.
Yeah.
Not just a medical fixing the figures, but also a therapeutic doctor.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to guys at shows 20 years. And everybody always has that same, I didn't give it up. That's what makes them want it again. And it doesn't have to be Migo. It could be anything. But that's what kind of drives the collector mentality, is to get back what I had.
That is a big part of it. There's another part of it for me, as I'm a graphic designer and artist. I'm a big fan of, like Sid Mead and all these great artists that did concept art, which drove all the wonderful, Ralph McQuarrie, all that stuff. So when I'm looking at something like these, not only is it kind of a celebration of, when I was a kid and the toys and this and there, but it's also of the design and the art and all of the cool stuff that it brings back about that, whether it's Planet of the Apes or Batman or Star Trek. And these were not crummy little toys. There was a workmanship in these that was even obvious to a kid. That is what I believe you're going to be reproducing is going to be that love is going to be in there. Therefore, it'll be appreciable on both levels. You'll be able to appreciate all the design, and you'll be able to appreciate all of the childhood trauma.
Right. Well, and with Apes, we get to do what was never done.
Oh.
We get to bring in stuff that was we always like to say, all the mistakes of the past that were, all the missed opportunities. That's why when Mattel said to me, well, what should we do for the first 4 superheroes? I'm like, all right, Superman, you got to do the man, you got it, and have him held with Lex Luthor, because Migo never did Lex Luthor, not mixed with Lex.
Right.
This time, add a vowel to his name.
That's right. Yeah, well, that's okay. And I want to do Green Lantern because Migo never did Green Lantern.
No.
And have him go up against Sinestro.
Yes.
So right off the bat, you're saying we're going to do old and new.
Yes.
So that's always what I'm trying to get across is, and now, finally, after 20 years of fighting, I'm right there in the room with Marty and actually being asked, well, what characters are we going to do? And I get to say, this is what I think. Now, it's got to be tempered by what will sell. For Star Trek, I'd love to do Trelane, but will people buy him, or will he be a pegwalk?
I bet you could get some Trelanes and Jack Cassidy fans out there.
So, some characters you have to come up with other distribution. You have to find another way to get it out there.
Yeah.
But the trick with Star Trek is you've got a good sized fan base that will support a wide range of characters. So, and with Star Trek, we've got multiple series. So we're purposely jumping between them. They're like, well, why don't you just do all the TOS and then move to TNG? I was like, because I'm trying to address different fan bases at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah. I was always so upset as a kid that they never made a Flash. I've always loved the Flash. I love this bright red suit.
That's why I made a Flash with Intel. And we're doing a Flash right now. We're doing with DC. We're able to distribute to select retailers for DC 8-inch superheroes. And we're doing Flash and the John Stewart Green Lantern. For those, I wanted to go more with the Justice League International cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Instead of just doing Migo again, which has already been done.
Right.
Look for some, alter them a bit, make them a little more of what I'd like to see, an old black Batman. Hang on. This, we get on camera, this is the Batman that we just did.
And I like that.
Oh, look at that.
With a cape that goes down in front. It's a cool head sculpt. It's much more of the Justice League, cartoon, or basically what they've done with them since the 80s or 90s.
And it looks like there's some muscles molded into that fabric. Is that?
No, it isn't. This is just the Mego bodysuit.
Okay,
I see. Just the bodysuit. It's just it comes through when you know how to make it. I've been studying Mego DNA for 20 years.
Look at that bicep on Batman. Oh, he's been working out.
Well, it looks like you were able to fashion the costume to take advantage of the body mold, which is why it's coming through that way.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I'd like to take credit for it, but yeah. Hopefully the factory was able to, we were able to send them a tighter bodysuit that was more form-fitting. So, but this is the kind of thing we're.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, speaking of characters that have never been made, Bobby Porter had just texted me to say hello. And can I tell him that there's a Cornelius toy coming our way in the future from Battle for the Planet of the Apes?
Oh, wait. Oh, you mean the son?
Yes.
Caesar's son, Cornelius? So I'd have to do a child size?
Yeah, Cornelius, played by Bobby Porter, is the chimpanzee who fell out of the tree. Can I give him a little sneak preview?
He's on the list. I don't know if we'll ever get to him, but I definitely know that. And the question is, if fans say we want a child-size ape, then it's in the license.
Oh, hang on one second. Hey, Bobby, guess what? Dot. All right, I'll leave him with that. I just texted him.
It's a possibility. Okay. The trick is, another idea would be, putting, and this is the issue we was doing, putting Cornelius Jr. on, little Cornelius on a peg in Walmart would probably not sell.
I won't tell Bobby that.
But if we did a 2-pack, reality, how many people going into Walmart are really going to buy a little ape? But if we do a 2-pack of Aldo and Cornelius with a tree.
And the tree. And let's do a playset with the tree.
With the tree, where it actually is like an action scene.
Yeah.
That if you never open it, because what we did with Target in the first year was we did Mirror Universe. We actually did mirror Kirk and Spock with the transporter as the backdrop. The 3-panel stage. We did it in a window box so that you had Mirror Kirk and Mirror Spock, and the background of it was the transporter.
You know what? Kids like to see themselves as figures and as superheroes. I bet if kids saw a child ape, they would go, I would like that because that looks like me. There's some psychology behind that. The
real question is, are kids, one, interested in action figures? Because my kids are only interested in video games.
Right.
Only on their phones and computers. And 2, are kids really into the original Planet of the Apes series?
Yeah, well, that's very true. But if you make Cornelius holding a little iPhone, you know what? Kids might be interested in that.
Will it sell?
Well, I get it.
Look, I could say, hey, let's do this. And if it doesn't move, then they're like, hey, that was a dumb idea. Now we're sitting on a lot of stuff that didn't sell.
Well, you can blame me for that one.
And how many of those before they go, listen, you're costing us more than you're worth.
Yeah, so you got to be very careful with what figures you put out.
There are times where we said, yeah, this is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings makes perfect sense for me to do. We're going to do Aragorn and Legolas, two major characters, big fan base. We know it's out there. Did not sell that well at Walmart.
That's interesting.
For some reason, the fan base was like, well, we bought the Toy Biz figures years ago, or we want the $200 Hot Toys.
That might be it.
You know, that's a very mature audience that wants detail.
Right.
Well, the question is then, why did they want to go with a Dr. Zaius as one of the first releases instead of more of an action toy?
Even if people don't know Planet of the Apes, they know Zaius, thanks to the Simpsons.
Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius.
Yeah, he's iconic.
There are people who go for that. And also, I had to really work with what I could get done in a month.
Right.
I had no time for sculpt, no time for coming up with anything clever. We wanted to get something out before Chinese New Year, so go with two major characters that everybody recognizes, and we can get them out there fast. Now that I got some time before the next deadline, we can work on new.
Yeah, be a little more surgical in your next choice because you have time.
Because I can't talk about it. Right.
Like maybe an Urkel with a removable helmet or a Virgil.
Senator, on advice of counsel, I cannot answer that question on the grounds that it incriminates.
Wink your left eye, then.
Which, your left or my left?
Either one. I just want to. Oh, there you go. You're doing like that John Belushi eyebrow thing.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that we might be getting new ape toys we haven't seen before. That just really, really excites me.
Trust me. I'm a huge fan. The Migo guy is a huge fan. You know, we are very, and you know, my boss Joel, the president of the company, worked on this license for 3 years. He has been trying. He has been patiently working Fox, and then it was, well, we're selling to Disney. Well, we got to get this organized. He has patiently been going at this for years, just constantly working, pushing wherever, constantly waiting. And then finally, they were like, oh, okay, we'll do this. Because we were so worried. Migo has got to do Planet of the Apes. If NECA actually tried it. My son NECA, I was like, oh boy. And then they did Taylor and a Soldier Ape, and then we walked off.
Yeah.
And they were like, nah, not worth it. And, I just was like, oh, I hope that doesn't poison the well.
I didn't feel the need to get them because I just didn't feel anything for them. They had no nostalgic value to them.
Well, that's the trick, I'm sure NECA said, who cares about nostalgia? We're working we have our own customer base, but they put them in Toys R Us and decided not to continue. It's imperative that Ape fans support this.
Oh, and believe me, I think as you know, we are very well supporting this. That's why we wanted to have you on the show, just to get that word out there to anyone who didn't see those announcements about the new Ape toys coming.
I'm already making room for them in my collection.
Let the word go forth from this time and place to a new generation, tempered by war.
Kennedy, hello,
yeah.
Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, is that you?
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up here, what Mego figures would you put on the Mount Rushmore of action figures?
Okay, Captain Kirk, Cornelius, Superman. The Mego Superman has such charm. It's a simple look. It's not even on model, but he just, immediately you see it and go Superman. How many is on? 4 of them?
Give us 2 more.
Okay. Would be actually the Tin Man.
Oh.
Migo actually sold $20 million worth of Wizard of Oz products in that first weekend at Toy Fair, 1975. And the Tin Man looked great, looked just like the actor, had all the detail, and was they put effort into that. And the 5th one, I'd have to say, was Fonzie.
Would there be like a thumb that would come up?
Yes, just the thumb. Forget his head, just the thumb. Migo sold millions of Fonzies.
Oh, I had one.
They sold those like crazy. So, yeah, I mean, Superman stayed in production for 10 years. Cornelius nailed that look. Captain Kirk is Kirk. I mean, Shatner has got the toughest likeness to capture. He's got no distinguishing characteristics to his face. And yet, the Mego Captain Kirk just looks at you with that, hey, baby, how about a good time?
Right.
And your clothes just fell off.
Hey, it's just, Spock looked great too. So,
That's a good Mount Rushmore.
Every kid had a Kirk in his backyard, throwing them in the dirt. I've seen more stained Kirk shirts in my day.
Paul, we really appreciate your time. This has been very, very fun and interesting and educational. Now, where can listeners go to find out more news about the upcoming Mego figures?
MegoAmbassadors.com. We are our Instagram. It should be Mego Corp. Mego Corp Facebook page. Sorry, not MegoAmbassadors.com. It's actually Facebook page, Mego Ambassadors. So Mego Corp is the website. I think it's Mego Figures. The Mego Museum is .com, and it definitely has all the news of anything that can be said about Mego.
Is there not in these times, but is there maybe plans to do a physical Mego museum?
No, we have Mego Meet every June. Right now it's in Columbus, Ohio. We're planning it for 2021. It's a weekend in June. I'm not sure if they told me yet, but we couldn't do it last year because of COVID, and we're kind of guardedly optimistic that by June there'll be enough vaccines out there. But if not, then we'll have to do something virtual. But yeah, the Mego Meet is a weekend slumber party for 40-something-year-old men who just spent 3 days talking nonstop about Mego in our pajamas. And by the third day, you walk out with your throat raw, and you can't say another word. And Marty comes and holds court, and it's the coolest weekend in the world.
Wow. All right, got a plan for this.
Go to MegoMuseum.com. They'll have a link to it.
Paul, thank you so much for everything once again and all the information. As we always wrap things up, go ape!
Mego wants you to go ape.
Dr. Zaius, the orangutan scientist. Cornelius, the archaeologist. Zira, the woman scientist. The soldier ape. And the astronaut. All Planet of the Apes action figures sold separately by Mego.
So, Kevin, we got a lot of great responses from our last episode where we talked with Paul Williams. So let's go ahead and read a few of these from our Listen to the Apes segment. We have a message here from Mark James on Facebook, and he wrote, "Just finished listening to the Paul Williams interview. Well done. I'm a big Apes fan. I assisted with the font work for Timeline of the Planet of the Apes, the definitive chronology. I own the actual simian fonts." He owns that license. Interesting. And he says, "And would love to help out if you ever want it." Ooh, keep up the great work. Well, Mark, you might be hearing from us sooner than later. Well,
indeed.
Thanks for reaching out. All right. Bill Owen, he says on Facebook, "Thank you guys. Awesome gift for my holiday break."
That's great.
Patrick Izzo says, "Fantastic interview. Love hearing Paul fanboying out." And that was one of the greatest parts of talking to Paul. Just seeing how humble he is, how much of a fanboy he is. I had this feel of anxiousness while going into it because this guy is a legend. He's seen it and done it all. But in the very end, he just loved talking to us as we were all just big fans.
Yeah, I have to agree with Patrick on that too. Even as long as I've known him, it's always fun to hear somebody that could, if they wanted to, be a diva, just talk real and be real. And that's, again, all I've ever seen him be, except it really was fun, like Patrick was saying, to hear him just dive in and just how much fun he was having. Because I always wonder that, does Tom Cruise ever have any fun, or is he just super serious? I got to be an actor. I got to make an action movie. Does he ever get into a moment and go, man, this is like really fun? You don't know. He never talks about it. Paul talked about it. Paul talked about his feelings.
Yeah. Maybe when Tom Cruise is in his 80s, he'll be the same way. Don't know. I don't
think this is something that came out in Paul. This is part of the fabric of him. This is I think him saying that now, he would have said that then. He would, you know what I mean?
And the listening apes out there, they didn't get a chance to hear our discussion because it wasn't recorded when we first logged on to Zoom with Paul. And we were all just talking for 25 minutes. And he was just going crazy with all the fanboy stuff. It's like, oh, I should be recording this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's just such a humble guy. And I told my sister, who's not really a podcast junkie, and I said, hey, we talked to Paul Williams. She's like, oh my God, she was talking Smokey and the Bandit. She was talking Hardy Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And she knew all these stuff that he was in. And his talent is just so widespread, not just with acting, with music and songwriting and campaigning for dependency on alcohol. And he's just a guy that we are lucky to have in our universe.
Yeah. Very grateful guy. Very, very genuine, humble, awesome person, like you said.
And even he goes so far as to protect the rights. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to get into everything because that would have been like a week-long show. But the fact that he's fighting every single week as the president of ASCAP, he's fighting for their rights for the artists for their songs. Because when a lot of artists had written out their contracts, there was no such thing as streaming. What is streaming? So artists are being taken advantage of every single day, and their songs are just being ripped from them. And he's fighting for them. He's flying back and forth from here to New York. And he is just, once again, he is a credit to humanity.
Yeah. Pre-pandemic, he was moving around a lot and doing a lot of business for ASCAP. And he is an excellent advocate for songwriters, for sure.
All right, let's wrap it up with a comment from Willie Loman. And he writes, wasn't he Oliver in the Brady Bunch?
No.
Willie, that was Robbie Wrist.
Yeah.
But I can see where you would draw the parallels.
Yes. Ay caramba.
Well, that about does it for this episode of Talking Apes. I want to thank Paul, Dr. Mego Clarke, for coming on and sharing his stories and giving us some exclusives as to what is coming up. And we also want to thank Joe Parrington for helping us to set up our discussion with Paul. And we want to thank all the apes out there for listening to all of our shows, to commenting on our posts and our new Talking Apes Facebook group. And we got to give a huge shout out to David Braun, who is one of the admins on that group. And he's
indeed
posting a lot of really fun stuff, especially with the collectibles. He's a huge collector. He's been posting a lot of stuff that he's been collecting and just items in general. He's engaging with the apes out there. We are lucky to have David. So David, thank you very much for heading up that Facebook group.
Thank you, David. Even though she is no longer with us, we still think of Angela Rushmere as part of our Talking Apes crew and want to thank her for all of the years she helped us on Facebook. We also want to thank Rob Dellinger, who composed the theme to Talking Apes. Please check out Rob's band at alpharhythmkings.com.
And for more vintage Planet of the Apes news and stories, go over there to Simeon Scrolls at pota.goatley.com. And Goatley is Goatley. And go over there to the forbiddenzone.net. Now, we are part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet. I'm not as good. I'm not as good as Sarah.
Where you can also find other great shows like classic Marvel Star Wars comics, the Max FX podcast, which we just put out another episode where we're asking all of the listeners to name Max's Star Trek Starfleet character. So check that out on the Max Effects Podcast Facebook group. And there's other shows on the Skywalking Network, like the Neverland Clubhouse, the Resilient Squadron Podcast, and Totally Tell Me Everything, and the flagship show, Skywalking Through Neverland. You can always contact us on our Talking Apes Facebook page and our new Facebook group. You can send us a message, post on our wall, or if you have something a little bit longer to say, you can email us at richard@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. You can find us on social media at SkywalkingPod for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Now, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And for Talking Apes, this is Richard.
And this is Kevin.
Now, go ape! And make mine Migo.
And for 1975, these great new characters. Astronauts Alan Burton and Pete Burke. And the Apes. Galen, grandson of Cornelius. Urko, the vicious soldier ape. And General Ursus, the nemesis of Dr. Zaius and the astronauts. Planet of the Apes Series 2, sold separately by Migo.
You know what? Wink with your right eye if they're making a Urko with a removable helmet.
Yeah, I'm looking at the original Mego card that you posted up there. It had the correct font and everything like that. But as a kid, all you really cared about was seeing the figure, and on that plastic card there, yeah, you could see it, and that was really what sold this in my eye, because the quality of the figure. It was just like, Mom, I need this. And then you had to beg, plead.
And just having a picture of their Statue of Liberty, as you know, you as a kid, you want to see what's next. I've got Cornelius.
That's usually on the back, though. They usually like on first.
But on the front, on the card, you had that ring of.
Yeah,
figures.
I see that. It's just as I remember. For me, I didn't start taking note of that until I was older, and that would be with the Star Wars figures, and you flip that over, and it would usually have what's coming up next and a little bio about the character. That's for the Kenner ones. Yeah. I don't remember even thinking about that when I saw this. I just saw the Planet of the Apes font, which I connected with immediately, and the full figure there. That was, as a kid, that when I was younger. So I was younger when the Migo came out, and a little bit older when the Kenner stuff came out. So things had shifted just a little bit. I was actually buying the Star Wars figures and flipping them over to see what was in that series, what was coming out. And I didn't do that when Migos, it was just like, that's Batman and Robin, give it to me. And then I'd go play with it for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah. And the sides of the box, they would have more figures. And when they had them in the actual rectangular boxes, not the cards, the back would be a card you could cut out. So not only were you getting the figure, but you were getting a fun card.
Actually, that was what I remember. My Batman and Robin were in the rectangular box. I do remember them being like that.
Yeah, you were talking about the Superman look. Who was that modeled after? It doesn't look like George Reeves.
No, it wasn't. It was really modeled after the comics and Super Friends. It's that. Superman is just this, good-looking white guy that,
I know when sculptors are making toys, they'll sculpt something that maybe looks like them. So I thought maybe that.
Well, but that's I've long found that. I've found that there are guys who sculpt it. They do a sculpt and they go, "Oh, who do you think this is?" And I go, "It looks like you." No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does.
Well, like all the animatronics at Disneyland.
Really?
Yeah, all the animatronics at Disneyland look like the person who sculpted them.
Considering how much they toil in anonymity, I don't blame them. I would make it look like me too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And look at Stuart Freeborn, who sculpted Yoda. Looks a lot like him. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with me? I must escape.
This one's too smart. We better take care of him. We can't afford to let the human remain a free thinker. We've got to operate.
What are they going to do to me? They're going to operate on me and make me a slave. I've got to help. Gotta run when he looks the other way. Made it!